Hi, everyone. Judge Andrew Napolitano here for Judging Freedom. Today is Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. Phil Giraldi joins us now. Phil, always a pleasure. Why do you think Donald Trump ordered the bombings of Iran on Saturday night?
Well, I have to, at this point, think that he did it just to prove that he could do it, to show what a he-man he is and how he was going to take no crap from the Persians. This guy is so screwed up, and the comments he keeps making, and uh, uh, which are usually rolled around a threat or something like that. I mean, this is kind of sicko stuff, and there's a whole lot of debate, I'm sure you're aware of online, about what actually the results of the bombing were and what the thinking behind it was, and so on and so forth. I don't even know what the truth is. And I'm sure a lot of the people who are making commentary don't know what the truth is either, because this is kind of the actions of a psycho.
Um, Ambassador Craig Murray just reminded us of something that appeared nowhere in the Western press, and that is a week before the bombing, the Iranian Foreign Ministry announced that it was removing the nuclear centrifuges and nuclear material and accompanying equipment from these three locations. Ritter has confirmed that as well. What did they accomplish? McGregor calls this a PR stunt.
Yeah, I think Max picked up that information too. And there's one theory floating I just read about an hour ago, which is that, oh, here the purpose was not to destroy these sites, but to seal them up by using the 14 30-ton bombs or 30,000-pound bombs.
Let me guess where you read that from our longtime friend, the great journalist Cy Hirsch.
Yeah, and Cy is usually spot on. He was spot on when he predicted what happened the first Israeli attack. He knew it was coming, but anyway, yeah, it was Cy Hirsch.
But this
And
is
I've been
hardly
reading.
what Netanyahu wanted. Netanyahu wanted to bomb them into the Stone Age and create a popular uprising. He even purported to address the Iranian people directly. I would think this had the opposite effect. This has had a rally round the flag effect.
Right, right. I agree with you. I think that the effect goes the other way. And as I say, the Cy's article was interesting to say, oh, we just wanted to seal it up. Well, come on, that you do that. You fly these B-2s, how many thousands of miles, 37 hours in the air, and you drop these very expensive 30,000-pound bombs. You have missiles, 30 missiles being fired from submarines and other ships. This is all the kind of like a Marvel comic book. And I'm afraid that's the way some of these people think. I mean, there's been a lot of revelation about how Mossad has been feeding the information to the Trump administration by way of the director of CIA, who apparently is a useful associate, shall we say?
He's a tool. He's an asset of Mossad.
Right,
He's almost a paid agent. They can't put money in his pocket. He'd go to jail for that. But an asset, an extension of Mossad.
right, and and there was also that woman who was the spokesman for the administration, who said, the United States, the greatest country in the world after Israel. This is a spokesman for the United States of America saying something like that. Well, that explains a lot, doesn't it?
Chris, play that clip just to give Phil some heartburn. It's Tammy Bruce.
Yeah, Tammy Bruce.
The pride of being able to be here and do work that facilitates making things better for people. And in the greatest country on earth, next to Israel. In the greatest country on earth, next to Israel. It's an honor to be able to make a difference and to be able to speak in this regard with an administration that I love so much.
Wow.
God.
How could anybody who's an official spokesperson, this is not a private in the army or a janitor in the basement of the DOJ. This is the official spokesperson for the foreign policy apparatus of the United States of America, make a statement like that.
Well, it just tells you, you know, the caliber of the people that Donald Trump brought in. And, you know, it's just astonishing. And the comments that come out and what's been coming out of our Secretary of Defense, Rubio is probably the most sane of the, which is a scary thought. But these other people are nuts.
Tell me what you think of Trump and Hegseth. Trump has asked a question that he doesn't want to answer, and Hegseth gives a political response. Chris, cut number 4.
I believe it was total obliteration. I believe they didn't have a chance to get anything out because we acted fast. If it would have taken 2 weeks, maybe, but it's very hard to remove that kind of material. Very hard and very dangerous for them to remove it. Plus, they knew we were coming, and if they know we're coming, they're not going to be down there. There aren't too many people that are going to be down there. Pete, do you have something to say about that?
Well, Mr. President, when you talk to the people who built the bombs, understand what those bombs can do, and deliver those bombs, they landed precisely where they were supposed to, so it was a flawless mission.
Flawless.
Right down where we knew they needed to enter, and given the 30,000 pounds of explosives and capability of those munitions, it was devastation underneath Fordo. And the amount of munitions, 6 per location, any assessment that tells you it was something otherwise is speculating with other motives. And we know that because when you actually look at the report, by the way, it was a top secret report, it was preliminary, it was low confidence. All right, so this isn't, you make assessments based on what you know.
They said it could be very devastating, very serious.
Moderate to severe, and we believe far more likely severe and obliterated. So this is a political motive here.
Talking about when he says we, he's the Secretary of Defense. His Defense Intelligence Agency, the spies that are full-time military, you're familiar with this, and work for the Pentagon, are the ones who concluded at the most it was a month or 2 setback. There was no total obliteration. Oh, and by the way, what he calls brilliant was planned in the Biden administration.
Well, this is like the intelligence community saying flatly that Iran was not developing a nuclear weapon, and that being repudiated by these clowns in the administration. There's just why do you hire these people? You might as well get rid of all of them and have hire somebody who writes comic books or something like that, and he'll write whatever you want. Which
so we have a nation that stole atomic secrets, illegally built its own nuclear weapons, refuses to sign the Non-Proliferation Treaty, won't permit any inspections, complaining about a nation that does not have a nuclear weapon, has signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, has been certified as complying with that treaty, whose nuclear weapons is used for peaceful civilian purposes and is approved by the United Nations, and Trump signs with the belligerent rather than with the latter.
Yeah. Well, and that's not all. And then we have this kind of bogus ceasefire that Trump claims to have arranged. Well, that tells you everything you need to know. I mean, the fact is Israel will break this ceasefire as soon as it feels in the mood. It's done that many times before. And that's the simple fact here. And It's just come over the wires. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but that the Israeli government has apparently advised the Iranians that Tehran should be evacuated. Now, this is
Here we
the second
go.
time
Here we go again.
Yeah, that's the second time they've warned this, and this is are they thinking of a nuke?
Wow. Max Blumenthal says Mossad agents were in the Oval Office. Is that probable, or was the exclusive conduit for the Mossad version of all this Director Ratcliffe?
Well, I think that that what I've heard is that basically that they seem to be infested in the intelligence community and to a much lesser extent in the Pentagon, and that they are Israelis who, like Ron Dermer is one that's cited as being frequently a visitor to the White House and to CIA headquarters.
Well, now he
I don't know
holds
how true that is.
citizenship.
That's what I'm hearing.
He was born in Miami, Florida. His father was once the mayor of Miami, and he was raised in New Jersey. So he obviously holds dual citizenship. But I'm sure he's a Mossad asset, or because of his carrying information back and forth. So the president of the United States rejects his intelligence community. The president of the United States rebukes his director of national intelligence and accepts secret information shipped to him from Mossad via his director of national intelligence. Does the director of national intelligence have dual loyalty, Phil? Have we ever had, not director of national intelligence, director of CIA? Right. Have we ever had a director of CIA work as an agent for a foreign country?
Not that I know of, and certainly if there had been even a whiff of that in the 20 plus years I was in the intelligence services, there would have been one hell of an uproar from people like me. Now this is this is unimaginable. What is going on here is in the White House and at the top level of government now is a loyalty test to make sure everyone is loyal to Donald Trump's personal views on these issues. And he's poorly informed, obviously, or let's say he's prejudicially informed from a certain viewpoint, which is Israel's. And he's buying into it completely. And then because he's getting on a helicopter and uses a 4-letter word to refer to that horrible little country, all this stuff gets spun. But Trump is completely in line with what Israel wants to do. And there's no debate about it.
Do you agree with Ambassador Murray that Netanyahu cried uncle, that the Israelis underestimated the ferocity and effectiveness of the Iranian retaliation, underestimated the weakness of their own so-called Golden Dome, and they have other biblical terminology to describe their defenses, and that Netanyahu said to Trump, "You got to get them to stop."
Yeah, that was the Iron Dome, right?
Right.
We're the ones who are building a Golden Dome.
Oh God! As you know, I'm a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, and the main administration building has a golden dome on it, at the top of which is a statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary, after whom the university is named. So that's what creeped into my head, right?
Yeah. No, the theory that the Israelis actually called for the ceasefire because they are really hurting has a certain plausibility, and that would imply that they are looking for a timeout. Let's call it a ceasefire, and that will give us time for Donald Trump, our good friend, to rearm us, because we're running out of the missiles that shoot down the other missiles coming in. And that gives them a chance to regroup, rearm. It's plausible. It's very plausible, and I wouldn't put it past them. and I wouldn't put it past Trump to agree to that kind of arrangement.
Have the Iranians seized and arrested Mossad agents on the ground in Iran?
Well, I've been one of the ones that have been sporting the theory right from the beginning that there are a lot of stay behind sources of information and agents in scattered throughout where these wars are going on. I felt from the beginning that well, it's clear that in the case of Israel, Iran, the Israelis have long had agents in place who've been able to carry out assassinations and similar things. This is because while Iran is predominantly a Persian country, there are ethnic minorities in Iran that are, shall we say, dissident. And I'm sure that this is where Israeli case officers would go to recruit people to work for them. And there's a similar situation in Russia, Ukraine. These two countries are very close. They have people from one side on the other side and the other side on the other side. And these are the people you would go and recruit to be stay behinds and giving you information and basically there to do your thinking.
Wow. John McCain in April of 2007 famously or infamously sang Bomb Bomb Iran to the tune of Barbara Ann. Chris, do you have that?
It's well documented that we have, for quite a long time now, known where the real problem is in the Middle East. And in fact, the president adequately described it as the axis of evil. I guess my question is, how many times do we have to prove that these people are blowing up people now? Never mind if they get a nuclear weapon. When do we send them an airmail message to Tehran?
That old Beach Boys song, Bomberan. Bom, 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 bom. Anyway.
Reason I point that out is because the president of the United States, we can't play it because much of the language in it is scurrilous and we'd be whacked by YouTube. But the president of the United States recently posted on his own Truth Social a video of the full length of this song, which includes a lot of horrific lines in it, like went to a mosque, gonna throw some rocks, time to turn Iran into a parking lot. And he posted that. There are also images of these B-2 bombers, not the same ones that were there the other night, but other B-2 bombers unloading what appears to be their payload over the area over which they're flying. In my view, I suspect in yours, this behavior from the president of the United States, though protected by the First Amendment, is reprehensible and beneath what the American public expects of the chief executive officer of the executive branch of the federal government.
There's no dignity coming out of this administration. And even for the presidents who preceded Donald Trump, they always maintained a certain decorum in my memory. And this guy is just, whatever comes into his mouth comes straight out. And it doesn't matter who he's insulting or who he's accusing of all kinds of crimes and misdemeanors. He says it and he does it. And I know certain of his supporters find this charming. I don't. I think you have, if you're doing the game of diplomacy to advance American interests and to benefit the American people, something that seems to be forgotten these days, you don't do these kinds of things because you want to deal with other countries in the way you would like to be dealt with. And this seems to be a forgotten skill. I don't see much of it coming out of any of the top people in this administration, and it particularly doesn't come out of the president and his Secretary of State.
You have worked for a number of presidents in your career in the military and intelligence community. Why do they kill? Why do they want war? Why do you always end up with John McCain, no matter what they say in their campaigns?
I think that there's a kind of there's been a feeling or a sentiment in the United States at the top levels of government, maybe maybe since the Korean War or even the Second World War, that we are the top dog and we have to at times do something, kick a little butt to get out there and prove it. Now this has become, I think, a passion ever since 9/11, and it's 9/11 gave the presidents the authority, in a sense, of the laws that were passed and the conditions that were changed in terms of going to war and everything like that, that basically made it more acceptable to be constantly barking about being the top dog. I think it's reprehensible, but I would like to go back to hear some of the decent things I used to hear when I was growing up from people like John F. Kennedy and Eisenhower
Yes.
and Ronald Reagan.
Yes, same here.
Don't get much of that anymore.
Same here. The bitter irony of this bomb Iran thing, Trump and his people having picked it up from somebody he despised, John McCain, although on this particular issue, you wouldn't know this. And this is the issue of war and peace. The president of peace, Phil Giraldi, is funding some of the most horrific genocidal slaughter in the modern era. He is funding a losing war that gets more and more lost every day in Ukraine. He's funding the Israeli attacks on a peaceful Iran. And now he dropped the heaviest weaponry ever used since 1945 on Iran for a PR stunt. Where the hell are we going?
Well, we've done worse than that with what we're doing in Gaza. I think I saw an article. I think 100 more Palestinians in Gaza were killed yesterday just trying to get food, and this is an abomination. And the fact that we are complicit in this is beyond war crime. This is, as you say, within history, within memory, there has been nothing like this. And it is just horrific.
Phil Giraldi, thank you, my dear friend. I'm sorry these topics seem so unpleasant whenever we're talking. When you and I are together, we laugh and have a good time. When we're on air, the topics are dreadful, but thank you for your analysis and for your patience.
Well, these sessions with you, motivate me. I'm going to go and have a nice big whiskey right now.
Right. Tell Angela to blame me. Thank you, Phil. All the best.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay, so long. For those of you expecting to see Colonel Kwiatkowski at 4 o'clock, we've had a mix-up in signals. She won't be on at 4 today, but she will be on soon, and we'll let you know. Tomorrow at 8 in the morning, Professor Gilbert Doctorow. At 1 in the afternoon, Professor John Mearsheimer, and maybe sometime during the day, if we can find him, Professor Jeffrey Sachs. Watch for that. Judge Napolitano for Judging Freedom.